Hello guys, welcome back to the Beastie room. Now we're going to have a look outside today, and you'd have remembered our last video where we dug the pond out, and what an epic job that was. Well, today we are going to be concreting it today. We're going to be putting the waterfall in and bits and pieces like that. So without further ado, let's go over and have a little look and see how we got on. I hope you enjoy this. It was quite an epic job. I'll see you soon. Well, here we are. We're gonna have a quick video today, and this is just me mucking around trying to set out the waterfall on our small rockery here. Now, obviously, when you've only got a small rockery, as you can see, this one isn't very big at all. We were very limited on space. I wanted more water than I did rockery. Normally, I would want to put a rockery in of equal size to the pond, or a little bit bigger. Planting can really make the difference between a really nice looking pond and a poor one. So here we are, making the best of what we've got. Now, I've actually already dug a big hole at the top in that right hand corner, and we're now putting the tiers in for the rockery. I didn't want to have water running straight the way down, so I thought we'd try and make a bit more of a cascading style waterfall. So we're now, what we've done is this is all soil that came out of the pond. This is all the topsoil that came out, and we've trodden it down, and it's been sat up there for a couple of weeks, so it's pretty well settled now. So we're now just cutting it out. We're looking to try and get that. Now you'll see there that the stones, I've used these large stones. This is a Cotswold stone, and each stone overlaps the front of the waterfall, so it will in effect make it so that the water just drips straight down. This will all become apparent when it's running, but it's difficult to explain. But yeah, so it actually overflows. So the water will come over the stone and then just drip off the stone back into the next chamber, and so on and so on. So what we're doing now, we're going to put some wire mesh inside. Now this is because we're going to concrete all of this. So we're putting wire mesh on the inside, and this will help the concrete, give it something to stick to, something to cling on to. And the mesh in itself will also make it easier for us to concrete up the sides as well. So we're just tacking it on there. So what we're looking at now, this is very, very basic. And this is just really sort of getting bits and pieces into position. Surprising how much. There was 10 meters of wire that I've got there on that roll, and it vanished in an instant. It vanished really, really quickly. So we had to go out and get some more, which was a bit of an epic thing on a Saturday morning, because we've run out now. There you go, we're back. Been out, got another roll. Now it's very interesting actually. A 10-meter roll I got from In Excess for $8.99. Went to my local garden centre and also my local B&Q, and cheeky. And the same roll, £32. What an absolute rip-off. $8.99 to £32 for exactly the same size roll. In actual fact, no. B&Q, it was only 5 meters, so I got double the amount for $8.99 from compared to what they wanted for 30 quid. And these shops are forever complaining about the internet is killing us. Well, I think to be fair, you're actually killing yourselves by overcharging so much. Absolutely disgraceful. That's my little rant over with anyway. It's one of my pet hates. Now we're putting the extra in now, and this is soon to be finished off. So we put wire all the way down, we dig out our form, Then we get the wire in, and then we're looking at getting our stones. Notice that last stone, how much it overlaps. That's going to look beautiful when the water's trickling off the edge. I don't want a torrent of water. I just want a gentle trickle, something that hardly breaks the surface of the water. And this will all become apparent later on. I keep saying that, but it will. It'll all make sense later on. So we're just tidying up a little bit now, getting the last bits in, getting our stones in, working out our levels, because we want our stones to just very, very slightly tilt, so they're just on the turn of the bubble. There we are, we're just checking it out now. We'll have one last little look, and this will just give you a bit of an idea of what our intentions are with this rockery, and we can get it all in place. Now the rockery side of things is really quite enjoyable. I do like doing that side of stuff. It's very pleasing. As you can see there, it all looks pretty rough, but we can tidy it up. Once we get our concrete in, we tidy it up. That is actually going to be a bog in there, and that will help with the filtration of the pond. So that will all be full of plant. There'll be nothing, no living stuff in it apart from aquatic insects and stuff like that. And then it'll all be full of plant. And then we'll drop all our stuff into here. Now, any leaks that we get in there or whatever, we can fill with expanding foam. So we will do our best to concrete it in as far as we can. But if there is any areas that we've missed or any little bits and pieces, we can fill in with expanding foam. So there you go. We are now ready to weld mesh the actual pond itself. And we will have a look at that next. So here we are now. This is the the weld mesh that's all been put in now. So we didn't actually video this because it's quite a lengthy process, but you get the idea. Now the stone in the bottom is to hold the weld mesh off of the floor, so that obviously there is a gap between the floor and the mesh. This is so the concrete will seep in and the mesh will sit in the middle of the concrete. There you go, you can see our rockery again there. And we got a little bit of a walkway around so I can get in and out of the shed. So there you go, that is all the mesh in. Now it takes a little bit of time. You can see the spikes, we've got to cut the spikes off the top there. They need to be removed. We don't need them in there yet, so we just need to chop them off. So we can cut them off before we start concreting. As you can see, they go all the way around. The weld mesh actually gives the concrete some extra strength, and it stops it from flexing as well. So bearing in mind the volume of water, especially down in the bottom, it's going to be quite heavy, and that should, in theory, strengthen the whole of the pond and make it a better area. So then, we are now on the next day, and we're getting ready now for our concrete to come in. Now you've got Lawrence there, he's just cutting the tops off using the grinder. We're just zipping the tops off, and I'm going around the bottom there, cutting them off with the bolt croppers. And I think the bolt croppers were much quicker. Right, here we are. Here's our first delivery. We've got 4 cubic meters of concrete here, and that is all ready. So that's now going in. You can see there, the boys are actually wheelbarrowing it in, and I'm filling the wheelbarrows up outside. So I'm keeping the 2 of them fed, and we're literally just going to dump it all inside, get it all as much as we can in, and then we can start laying it all out. Now you can see now where the edge of the rebar is at the edge of the concrete pile, and you can see where it's going underneath the rebar and on top. And the tucker's just dropping in there now, just going to start spreading a little bit of it around. We're still filling up. Now he's just soaking the soil there, because the last few weeks we've had of really dry weather has actually dried that soil out incredibly well. So we just get a little bit of moisture on it, and that helps our concrete adhere to it, and also stops it from drying out too quick. You can see we've got a nice little bit of sun there, which was nice for us, but not so good for the concrete because it did dry it out. Now the concrete, as you can see, is quite a dry mix. And this is a ballast-based concrete, so it's a very, very sturdy, very strong concrete. You can tell that by the colour. You've got Lawrence in there now, moving it in as well, and we're starting to fill it up now. As you can see there, Tucker's working his way around the top edge, which is going to be a platform. Now the idea of this platform is to have an area where it is shallower water, so that the fish and the plants can get up there. So that shallow area will actually be warmer than the rest of the pond. Once the sun hits it, it'll warm up. And then also as well, later on, hopefully our fish will spawn up on that shelf as well. So that'll be really nice, make a bit of a difference. As you can see there, it's all getting smoothed off now. Tucker's finishing off that last little bit. Well, so here we go now. I'm gonna actually start doing the concreting of our waterfall. And we've got Lawrence now has been passing the concrete up. It's exactly the same mix as what we're using down in the pond. As you can see there, we're going to start running it in, start filling up. Now the area that we're doing at the moment is going to be the top pool. So that top pool is around about, it's around about a metre square, and it's about 15 inches or so deep, maybe a little bit more. And this is going to be full up with plants. We'll put a gravel base in it as well, so eventually this will allow for our bacteria to grow, our beneficial bacteria, and this will help take out some of the bad stuff from the fish waste and what have you, and keep our water at a decent, nice, clean, clarity water. Now it's all about getting our pH levels and what have you correct. So we need to be able to maintain this water, and we can do that via the plants that go in there, and also by not having too much in the way of fish. We're not going to have a huge amount of fish in here, just a few, just so we've got a nice bit of colour and a bit of movement, but not a lot. Now obviously, as you can see with the pond, it's going to be a large body of water. I've not actually measured it to find out how many litres this thing's going to hold, but let's say it's going to be quite a few. So then, we're now filling up that last little bit, and we're now putting the stone in to make the top tier of the waterfall. Now obviously the tiers of the waterfall need to be slightly lower than the top well, and that is so that the water just trickles out. And I've set the stones so that they overhang the top of the waterfall, and then so I didn't want the water just running and cascading down. I wanted it to come over the top of the stones and just trickle down gently. That way we will get a little bit of noise, but not a lot. It will be a very faint noise. That's the plan anyway. And as you can see there, we've almost done all of the tiers, all of the block, all of the stone are in place, and we're ready to go. So now we're time to move in. And as you can see there, Tucker's done a fair bit of this already. Now just dropping in to give him a hand. Bearing in mind, time flies by real quick, and it's important that we get this concrete up and done as fast as we can, so that it doesn't go off too much. Constantly while we're working it, it's drying out, so we need to get a move on and start doing it. Now we did have a problem on this back wall where I am now, where it collapsed, and we figured out what it was in the end. It was the top line of rebar was forcing our concrete back out, which was giving us problems, and we're discussing it here as well with this side. And we decided in the end, I decided to take the top line of rebar out, which is what I'm doing now. I'm going to cut that one out. We're going to get rid of it. And what was happening was as we got to the top of the concrete, because it's sheer sides, it was actually forcing the concrete back off the wall, which was a real headache. So we cut it back. We don't need the rebar on the very top because there's not so much water pressure there, and there will be a nice big thick lip across the top anyway, so that will be fine. So we're all working it all in now. We're going to get the floor graded through now, so we've got a nice even floor. And as you can imagine, the floor is going off really fast. Where we're walking over it and treading on it, it's getting compacted, which isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing, really. So we're almost there. We're getting everything leveled in and what have you, getting it cleaned up. It's all looking really, really nice now, and almost finished. We ended up taking another 3 cubic meters of concrete, and we used a bit of a grit mix for this one, and we put this over the top of everywhere where we were going. Needless to say, this was hard slog this day. Really, really hard work. And yeah, if you're going to do a concrete pond, be prepared for some hard graft. And it really was. So he's literally just adding a bit of water there to help that blend in a little bit more. And then we're going to be away. Get a nice gentle shelf on there, you see, and that'll pick that up. So there you are, almost finished. Like I've done a fantastic job here. Fair play to him and Lawrence. Really, really hard work. Great job done. Now this is about a week later, and as you can see, the actual colour of the concrete has changed entirely now. It's gone pretty much white, and I've put the rockery stones in place as well now. So we're just starting to get this finished. We've still got to put the cappings on the sleepers. That's not been finished yet. We've got the trellising round the back. We've still not water tested this yet, so we don't know whether it's going to leak or not. So we've still got that to come. But to all intents and purposes now, we are really, really moving on. We are now waiting to get our bridge built. And once we get our bridge built, we've got about a month, and then we will be decking the remainder of the garden. And then we will do a final video having a look at how it's all come about. There's our big well at the top, lovely big pond at the top there, and that's going to be help us with our filtration, and it's all going to run down into here. Got a bit of natural wood and bits and pieces. I'm always picking things up when I'm out and about. And no doubt this rockery will change with regard to the wood and bits and pieces that it's got on there. I want it to be reasonably natural. And at the moment it looks a little bit, you know, a little bit like it's all been placed. But once we get it planted up and everything, a lot of that stone will disappear and just be poking out of here and there. And I'm sure once we start seeing water running off of them stones, it's going to look absolutely beautiful. I'm so excited. We are so close now. Lovely big volume of water there as well. It's going to be a really, really nice feature when it's full up. Now I'm in two minds as to whether to paint the pond. I might paint it, or I might just leave it as it is. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, we will see. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, things are cracking on. The next time you see this, we should have water in it. Right, I'll leave you with this lovely sight. Hope you enjoyed. Well, like I say, it was an epic job. Now, I had one weekend there where I literally put the waterfall in. And as you can see there, we only have a very small rockery area, and this is because I wanted more water rather than rockery. Normally, if space would have allowed, I would have had a rockery that was equal, if not bigger, than the space of the actual pond itself. This didn't really work out in this particular job because we just didn't have the room. So I felt that it was more beneficial to have a greater volume of water than it was to have more rockery. And it's all about keeping things in flow, keeping things flowing together, and hopefully it will all come together and it will look really, really nice. So you also would have remembered when we spoke about this pond in the past that we're not going to have any external filtration as such. So we are going to rely on it being a natural pond with our filtration being done by our plants. Now, I've done this before and it worked really, really well. I've also had heavily filtered ponds in the past. I just don't want the work. I don't want that added hassle. I want it to look after itself more or less. We're only looking at keeping a very small amount of fish as well. So we shouldn't have too much to upset the balance. And once the plants become established, they will look after that pond. Now, you would have seen in the very top of the rockery, we built a pool in there, which is it's around about a metre square, and around about 15 inches or so deep, maybe a little bit more. That will be filled with plant. We're going to have a gravel base in that as well, and then we're going to heavily stock that with plants. So it's going to become more of a bog garden than anything else. And that will help filtrate the pond. So any waste that our fish produce will be pumped up through that filter and back down again, and the plants will help to stabilize all of that. Now, you'll also see in there the rockery. I've put the stones so that they overlap. So if you imagine that's the face of the rockery, our stone will overlap, which means the water will drip off this edge here. So it'll be like that much of an overlap. I don't want a rushing waterfall. I just want it to literally trickle over very, very gently, almost just like a pitter patter. It's going to be quite small amount. And this, I think this will make it a much more tranquil pond. The whole point of this area is we've got quite a small area in our garden. It's not a big space. So I just want it to be as tranquil as possible. So when we sit out there on a nice summer's evening, it will be lovely. Now then, you see that we've done all the rebar in the pond as well as we used mesh in the waterfall. This is all to help our concrete adhere to something, and also to give our concrete added strength. Now the rebar, as you saw in the middle, we had it going all the way up to the top. That caused us problems when we were laying the concrete in. It meant that our concrete kept falling away. It just did not want to stay there, so we cut it back, took the decision to cut it back off the top rim, and this solved the problem. Now we don't need rebar in the top because the water pressure is not so much as it's at the top of the pond. Down below it's beneficial. So as you saw, we rebarred the whole thing out, and then it came time to putting it in. Now we used, I believe, around about 7 cubic meters of concrete. Hell of a lot. And we had to barrow that all the way through the house. So it was a bit of an epic day, but as you saw, we got it all done in the end. And since then, we've put it in, we've allowed it to go off. So you see the difference in the colour. It's now actually white where it's dry. We're going to leave it for another week, let it go off again. It will keep just curing. And then we will water test it. Now in the meantime, while we've been waiting for that, I've actually managed to put the stones in. I've put a little bit of decor on the rockery itself. This all looks a bit harsh at the moment, but once we start to plant it up, that will soften it all down. We get some moss growing on there and what have you. It will actually all soften down. In around about a year, 18 months time, that rockery will look entirely different. It will be well established by then, and it will look absolutely lovely. So we've gone for natural stone in the rockery. So we've gone for like a Cotswold stone, and we've also gone for some natural wood and what have you in amongst that as well. So put that in conjunction with our plants, and it will make for a really lovely soft setting, and hopefully it will all come together. Now I'm not 100% sure yet whether I'm going to paint the pond or not. I don't know. The ones I've done in the past, I've never painted them. I've left them. I will put gravel in the bottom of the pond, and this will be to aid the fish. It will also give a base for any beneficial bacteria to actually establish and colonize within that base as well. So that could be a good thing. It's not something I bothered with in the past, but I think we're going to do it with this one. It'll also make it nice when you're looking down to see that gravel, and we'll see the fish as well. It'll look lovely. So yeah, we've got a couple of things to play around with. The next time we see this video, this pond, I would hope that we would have started doing the decking. That is the last stage of the outside garden to be completed, and then we're into the house, which means a happy camera lady. She has been very, very patient, and yeah, we're almost there, almost there. So yeah, lots and lots to do. In terms of what the pond does, because it's a concrete pond, we will have to fill it up and have it running for a couple of weeks. We will then dump all of that water and fill it up again, and we will do that probably 3 times. This will leach out any of the additives in the concrete, any of the bad stuff, and then on the 3rd one we will leave it full up, and then we will start testing our water. We'll take some pH tests and what have you and see how our water's going, and then depending on how that goes will depend on how long it takes before we get some fish in there. We will probably just stick some normal common fish in there to begin with, just some common goldfish maybe, just to start getting that system working. And by the time we add our plants and everything as well, we want our pond to mature gradually, but a few fish in there will just help that along a little bit. Yeah, so yeah, it's all going to be very, very exciting, and I hope you're enjoying it. So don't forget, until next time, be calm, be gentle, and love your spider. And I'll see you all soon, guys.